First here tonight at 5 o'clock, we have a major development in the story that WHAS11 News first brought you last week. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our newscast on WHAS11 Plus. I'm Doug Proffitt. The man accused of stealing an elderly woman's home through a fraudulent deed transfer has turned himself in. That's one new development. Our story also caught the attention of a Metro Council member who held a news conference about the scams today. And now more victims from similar schemes are coming forward. Our Ian Hardwitt, along with WHAS11 journalist C.J. Daniels, broke this story of Dorothy Tarpon last week. And Ian, you're finding any more common threads here? It seems the more this story goes on and gets attention, new developments have been coming out along the way.
Doug, that's right. In the case of Tarpon and another woman I met today, Patricia Wright, the people who took their homes claimed these women were actually dead, Doug. But I've met them in person. They're not dead. Russell Cheatham was charged for forging a quitclaim deed and stealing Tarpon's identity. Tarpon's niece filmed Cheatham as he and another man moved furniture out of the 89-year-old woman's home. An identical story played out for Wright, a woman I met today. Her furniture and family photos were taken out of her house after a separate deed takeover from someone she knew. Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins represents the West Louisville neighborhoods where this happened. She's saying she's heard even more cases since our report last week.
You know, this has happened multiple times. A lot of people, several people have said, we just let it go. You've had other people that said it was too costly, you know, to have to pay to get your property back. It's unheard of.
Hawkins went on to say there that there should be tighter restrictions on deed transfers. The responsibility of that lies with the Jefferson County Clerk. However, that office is still waiting appointment by Louisville's mayor. Meanwhile, the clerk's office has a clerk alert system, which emails you anytime there are changes with your home deed. In the studio, I'm Ian Hardwitt for WHAS 11 on your side.
All right, good job staying on that story. Thank you, Ian. We have developing news out of central Kentucky and Woodford County, Kentucky. That county, of course, just outside Lexington. A man sentenced for killing a 6-year-old boy and gravely injuring his family nearly 10 years ago has been released from prison. Back in 2018, Ronald Zantis was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity and guilty but mentally ill on assault charges. You may remember this case. Investigators say Zantis broke into a Versailles, Kentucky home in December of 2015 and killed 6-year-old Logan Tipton. Even more frightening, detectives found it was a random killing. Zantis drove from Indianapolis and broke into the Tipton home in Versailles while the family was sleeping. He also attacked Tipton's father and siblings, but they survived. WHAS 11 was there in 2015 when hundreds honored Logan's life at the community stadium in Versailles. According to court records, Zantis was released yesterday after serving less than 7 years of his 20-year sentence. Records show that he's out on supervised parole, but that will end in June of 2026. Also right now here at 5 o'clock, a Kentucky man is in police custody after he tried a social media trick on his 2-month-old infant, sending the baby to the hospital with rib fractures. Police say this man, Austin Webster, handled the infant in a rough manner, and his actions likely caused the rib fractures. Webster told police the baby had been experiencing irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. He admitted to trying a technique that he saw on social media in hopes of relieving the child's symptoms. Webster was arrested and charged with second-degree criminal abuse. A standoff in Louisville ended overnight with a man in custody. Metro Police says Robert DeLeal went on Facebook Live yesterday afternoon threatening to kill children and police. Officers tracked him right to his home on Lake Elkhorn Court off Seatonville Road. The SWAT team responded, and just after midnight, police arrested him without incident. He's charged with several counts of terroristic threatening. A hunter reported missing in Nelson County was rescued last night with the help of some eyes in the sky. According to Nelson County Emergency Management, dispatchers received reports of the man's disappearance at about 8:20 last night. From there, Nelson County Sheriff's deputies and officers with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife began a search near the Shady Lane area in Boston, Kentucky. They got help from drone teams within Nelson County Emergency Management and the Nelson County Fire Department. Within 90 minutes, drone pilots found the injured hunter roughly 3/4 of a mile off the road. He was then taken to Boston School there, where he was flown to Louisville and University Hospital. His current condition is not known. We have a very warm day today, but it's still pretty comfortable out there. And Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell is taking us over the next few days. And Mallory, do you see any cold fronts coming this way or any more substantial rain?
We do have something on the way next week. So if you're wanting that fall-like feel, next Wednesday or Thursday is looking pretty good with those lows in the 50s and highs in the 70s. Also next week will bring our next chance for rain. So we are looking to stay dry tonight through the weekend. We're taking that live look outside over downtown Louisville from our Hughes and Coleman camera. That's part of our Shriners Children's camera network here. Temperatures in the Louisville Metro in the 80s, 83 currently in Iroquois Park, 85 at both airports, 84 in Fern Creek, 88 in Linden. Big picture view, 80s once again this afternoon. So we are running several degrees above normal for early October, but thankfully humidity has been in check this week, and that certainly helps us out. Dew points have been in the 50s. We have a few low 60s on the map, but all in all, that gives us the really nice crisp air in the morning and at night as those lows continue to drop into the 50s and 60s. Satellite and radar here, we are dry. There is a little bit of radar activity off to our west around Evansville up through Illinois as well. That will stay to our west. We are looking to stay dry and comfortable this evening with light winds. Temperatures in the 80s will drop into the 70s once that sun sets, and then eventually the 50s and 60s by tomorrow morning. Highs tomorrow afternoon back in the 80s under partly cloudy skies. We'll take a full look ahead to our weekend forecast that's coming up in just a bit, Doug.
Mallory, thanks so much. More of your top stories here at 5 o'clock. It is day 2 of the government shutdown, and the blame game has intensified. Neither the House or the Senate is in session today, and this means the earliest the shutdown vote could come and be ending is possibly tomorrow. Democrats are demanding Republicans reverse cuts to Medicaid and extend the Obamacare subsidies set to expire. This would keep health care premiums from rising for millions of Americans next year. President Donald Trump is meeting with his budget director to decide which agencies that he recommends to be cut, either temporarily or permanently. His administration warns it could start firing federal workers as soon as today.
We haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers. What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on.
We're going to look at agencies that don't align with the administration's values that we feel are a waste of the taxpayer dollar.
President Trump is now targeting states leaning Democratic, freezing $18 billion in infrastructure funding for New York City. There are more than 750,000 federal workers around the country furloughed. Kentucky has more than 23,000 federal workers combined, all working without pay. In a new development, 2 Kentucky congressmen are refusing to accept paychecks while the government remains shut down. They say they shouldn't receive money as millions of federal workers go without pay. Louisville-based Democratic Congressman Morgan McGarvey is asking for his pay to be withheld until Democrats and Republicans reach an agreement. Republican Congressman Brett Guthrie also said that he sent out a letter rejecting his pay as well. Kentucky families are at the center of concern as the federal government shutdown enters day number 2. Today, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said his administration is watching the impact closely, from federal employees who are furloughed to families depending on programs like SNAP and WIC.
So it's complicated and it's tough, but certainly we're thinking about each of those families. Most programs that come through Kentucky will continue. We've done it before. We'll do it again, but we'll be monitoring it day to day. And for those families, I'm hoping that neighbors will check in with them.
The Kentucky department that runs the Kentucky WIC program, by the way, told WHAS11 News in a statement that they will continue to operate the program as normal during the federal government shutdown. Beshear says his priority is making sure Kentuckians get the help they need, even as federal support now remains uncertain. Happening today, family, friends, and the Jefferson County law enforcement community saying their final goodbyes to the longtime Jefferson County Sheriff John Aubrey. Sheriff Aubrey died surrounded by his family at the age of 86 last week. He was the longest serving sheriff in Jefferson County's history, having served for 27 years. Jonathan Thompson, the executive director and CEO of the National Sheriff's Association, was in attendance at the service today at Southeast Christian Church. The association declared Sheriff Aubrey their Sheriff of the Year earlier this year, and Thompson gave his thoughts on how he would describe Aubrey's life of service.
I thought about all of the adjectives to describe John Aubrey. They came to me in a rush, but the ones that really stand out, I think, will resonate with all of you because they are good qualities. They're great qualities. Husband, father, grandfather, friend, neighbor, soldier, cop, sheriff, servant.
Sheriff Aubrey's long procession then moved down I-64 today shortly after noon, and he was laid to rest in the St. Michael Cemetery. That's off Ellison Avenue in the Highlands of Louisville. Mayor Craig Greenberg says the responsibility now falls to him to appoint an interim sheriff into the November 2026 election. The mayor has scheduled leadership announcements for tomorrow morning. Demolition started this week on the former Kentucky Baptist Hospital at the corner of East Breckenridge Street and Barrett Avenue. Demolition has been ongoing since February on the entire block, which was the old Louisville Jefferson County Urban Government Center from 1988 until 2016. Metro government has approved plans to turn the crumbling structure into a large development with a hotel, cottage-style housing, and a large parking garage near Paristown Point. Metro government has given the developer $20 million in tax incentives.